He was a respected pilot, charming, successful, and seemingly devoted. But behind that calm smile, Gerald Mike Bullinger was living a double life of lies. In the summer of 2017, inside a quiet Idaho farmhouse, 3 lives ended in cold blood: his wife, his secret lover, and her teenage daughter. What began as a hidden love triangle would explode into one of the most chilling unsolved cases in Idaho history. When police arrived, Bullinger was gone, vanished into thin air, leaving behind only a trail of betrayal, blood, and heartbreak. Was it a crime of passion, a calculated plan, or the final act of a man living 2 lives that could no longer collide? This is the haunting story of Gerald Mike Bullinger, the husband, the lover, and the fugitive who disappeared after murder. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment your thoughts, and share for more gripping true crime documentaries. Watch till the end as we uncover the mystery of Bullinger's disappearance that might shock you. Because every family see the father as their protector, but in this case, their protector became their terminator. What on earth could make Michael Gerald Bullinger, a certified pilot, to murder his beloved wife, his girlfriend, and her lovely daughter the same day? Bullinger was married to Cheryl Baker since 2010. At the same time, he had been in a romantic relationship with Nadja Medley for nearly 2 years. Nadja and her daughter moved to Idaho to join Bullinger at a property he had bought while his wife was still in Utah. According to those who knew Nadja, she did not know at the time that Bullinger was married. Similarly, Cheryl apparently didn't know about Nadja as her husband, Mistress. On May 3, 2017, Bullinger purchased a farmhouse in Caldwell, Idaho. Nadja Medley and her daughter moved from Utah to that Idaho property as he requested. Meanwhile, Cheryl Baker, his wife, was still finalizing the sale of their previous home in Ogden, Utah. Bullinger told her he was fixing up the farmhouse he just bought for her to join once things were ready. Unfortunately, Cheryl decided to surprise her husband at their farmhouse, but it was a surprise gone wrong. Cheryl Baker drove 5 hours to surprise her pilot husband at their new farmhouse so they could celebrate her retirement, just to discover him living there with his mistress and her teen daughter. Gerald Mike Bullinger allegedly shot and killed his wife, his mistress, and her teenager daughter. But before we dive deep into the story, Elle will tell you why he murdered the most important women in his life and the teenage girl. But let's first talk about Cheryl, his wife, who went there to surprise her husband. But little did she know that she would end up surprising herself, because she just discovered one of her husband's top secrets: that Bullinger has a mistress and a child together outside of their marriage. Bullinger intended to maintain both relationships long enough to move everything to Idaho, perhaps expecting his wife to join later. But Cheryl showing up early, and they disrupted his plan, perhaps when he believed she would join later. Rather than risk exposure, he may have felt forced in his mind to take drastic action. The presence of Nadja's daughter complicates the scenario. Perhaps she was in the wrong place at the wrong time. But what could be his reaction when his wife uncovered his top secrets? How is he going to explain himself? What could be their thought? Meeting for the first time. To avoid the drama that could possibly unfold, Gerald Mike Bullinger allegedly shot and murdered his wife, his mistress, and the teenager girl who called him Dad. But what could have pushed him to make such a dramatic decision and ran out of control? Could it be lack of composure to maintain his secrecy? Or he couldn't stand the reality of seeing them in the same space which he was hiding for a long time? What exactly happened after Cheryl Baker arrived at the farmhouse in rural Utah that triggered the monster in Michael Bullinger to murder them remains unclear. The dead bodies of Cheryl, a 57-year-old retired teacher, Medley, 47, and Peyton, 14, were found lined up in a shed and covered in plastic on June 19. Mike Bullinger is officially considered wanted by the authorities for triple murders in Idaho. Byron Baker, Cheryl's brother, said his sister informed him about the surprise visit she was planning for her husband before leaving town, but not knowing that the surprise visit would end her life. Cheryl Baker was a vegetarian who was passionate about meditation and spirituality, according to her brother. Byron also said Mike Bullinger was a corporate jet contract pilot who routinely traveled or lived out of state for weeks at a time. On the surface, the marriage between Cheryl Baker and Mike Bullinger appeared perfect to her brother. The couple shared the same interests, likes and dislikes, and overall mindset. They would frequently go rafting, hiking, mule riding, and engage in other outdoor activities together. The art teacher was regarded as a very loving person who cared deeply for her students, though she did not have any children of her own. Each of the women were shot once. The bodies were significantly in a decomposing state when they were found, which made immediate identification difficult. Idaho police officers also found the remains of multiple dead birds, dogs, rats, rabbits, and a snake while investigating the crime scene. He fled the scene and left his Ford Focus behind. The authorities assume he may be dead considering the location his Ford Focus car was found. The Canyon County Sheriff's Office announced that they charged Bullinger with felony homicide after a medical examiner made positive identifications on all three victims. Medley and her daughter didn't have dental records available, and it took almost 2 months for the medical examiner to get a DNA match on the pair. Baker was identified last month via dental records. Previously, authorities said that Bullinger, a retired pilot, was only a person of interest. Despite an intensive manhunt, multiple leads to get him, the case remains officially unsolved because Bullinger has not been apprehended, as he's still on the run. Even if some sources believe that he's dead, especially when the authorities had concluded that he's dead, even when there's no official evidence of his body being found. But let me know your thoughts about this man at the comments section. Do you think he's dead, or do you think he's alive somewhere else with different identity? Kindly like, share, comment, and subscribe so you would be notified when I post another crime story. Thank you once again for watching this far.